Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Stephanie Blank, and I am very proud to be the board chair of GEEARS, the Georgia Early Education Alliance for Ready Students. I've been working on this issue of early childhood education for over a decade and have been incredibly lucky and blessed to work with some amazing folks in the not-for-profit world and amazing community leaders as well. And in that capacity, I've been proud to serve not only as the GEEARS board chair, but I also serve on First Lady Sandra Deal's Children's Cabinet, and recently was elected chair of the Child Welfare Commission cabinet created by Governor Deal to address the issues around child welfare and foster care reform. I want to thank Georgia Public Broadcasting for hosting us here today, and thank our partners, the United Way of Greater Atlanta and the Metro Atlanta Chamber of Commerce, for their very generous support of this summit. Exactly 4 years and 1 week ago, just a month after GEEARS was founded, many of you that are in this room today also were here with us as we learned about the importance of early education and the return on investment that economists have found that the focus on birth to 5-year-olds could have, not just for our state, but for our entire country. Most importantly, that day, you heard us unveil our vision at GEEARS, that by 2020, all children in Georgia will enter kindergarten prepared to succeed and on a path to read to learn by the end of 3rd grade. We have made much progress in those 4 years. It would not have been possible without many of our elected officials. At this time, I would like to ask our elected officials to stand that are here with us today so that we can recognize you. Thank you. So this afternoon is a time to check in with you, our stakeholders. It is a time to celebrate the accomplishments we have made together, to set goals for the next few years of our work, and to acknowledge the challenges that we still have yet to overcome in order to achieve our vision by the year 2020. We hope that at the end of this day, each of you will leave this studio with a renewed sense of commitment to the early childhood work in which we, all of us in Georgia, are engaged in together. And that is work that will build a movement across our state to support high-quality early learning and healthy development for children birth to 5 so that they are prepared for success. This afternoon is not meant to be a political rally, and it will not include political debates, but it is critically important to all of us that we learn about the views of each candidate for office in Georgia and where they stand on early education. And we will begin to do that today with the candidates for 3 different offices. But this is also a time for conversation and a time to build relationships. GEEARS does not endorse candidates or political parties. As you will hear, the good news is that support for early education is shared by Georgians, no matter their political affiliation, their gender, age, sex, or even the area of the state in which they live. But one of the things that we want to make sure does happen, and for those of you who listened to the Perry debate last week, you will remember that there was much conversation about K through 12 education. There wasn't much about early childhood education. We want to make sure that early education and the critical growth between birth and 5 is on the agenda of all of our candidates as we go into this election cycle. Over the last 4 years, I have spoken to many, many different Georgians. We have traveled this state speaking at Rotary clubs, legislative meetings, junior league meetings, chambers of commerce, community foundations, big auditoriums, little boardrooms. If you get the message, it's anybody that will hear our message, we are willing to come and share that with. And I hope that most of you have heard us talk about why these first 5 years of a child's life are so incredibly important. It lays the foundation for everything that is to follow. We don't get a do-over for those first 5 years. We can mitigate what does not happen or what has happened, but it takes a lot more time and intensive work on the part of those who are invested in our children. It makes much more sense to do it right the first time. And in fact, every second in a child's brain, 700 new neural connections are formed through the interaction of their genes and the experiences that they have with their caregivers and the environment around them. What we know now about early childhood education is that these experiences and interactions that a child has with its parent, its teacher, and other caregivers not only creates the type of child they are, it prepares them for every future success that they will have. And as you know, the children who receive high-quality early education are more developed cognitively, socially, emotionally, and academically than their peers who did not receive that similar wonderful start. So quite simply, investing in our youngest learners is investing in the future of our state. At a time when we want to talk about business development, the conversation should always be centered about the workforce that will support that, and that workforce starts with our youngest learners. So who are these children? Well, right now there are an estimated 800,009 children ages 5 and under living in Georgia. Almost 64% of the families with young children under 6 have both parents in the labor force. That means they rely on a strong and quality early childhood system to support their children and themselves. 45% of Georgia's children under age 13 grow up in low-income working families. And what does that mean? It means that child care can easily consume 40% of a low-income family's budget. Over 81,000 children were enrolled in Georgia's universal pre-K in fiscal year 14. That's an incredible number and means that lots of children are getting what they need. However, over 6,000 children were on a pre-K waiting list in that same year, meaning we have more work to do. The children who had just started pre-K at our first summit in 2010 are now in the 3rd grade. We have all heard about the importance of 3rd grade and the transition children make. They are no longer learning to read. They now have to be able to read in order to learn successfully. Are these children on their way? Did their pre-K years make a lasting impact on them? Well, making an investment in early childhood requires both vision and foresight, because the truth of the matter is we don't often see the full benefits until these children have graduated, have become adults, have entered into the workforce. However, children who receive high-quality, intentional learning, boy, you can tell the difference. And we see that now as we look at this video.
I'm a really good reader now that I'm in 3rd grade, but if I just learned my colors and shapes and how to wash my hands in pre-K, I wouldn't be where I am right now in 3rd grade.
It's so great to be in 3rd grade because my teachers in pre-K, they taught me all these wonderful things that I now know today. And if I didn't learn those things in pre-K, I wouldn't be able to know those things in 3rd grade.
So I see you're using a measuring cup.
I've got a big one.
You've got a large measuring cup?
There's a green one.
I remember that they would let us have conversations at any time. It's not like she would say, be quiet. She would just go on with the story.
And today, when you sing, wave to your friends, okay?
They let us talk a lot, and that has an effect on where you get when you grow up.
I'll hold it. You go pick out your tape.
That's not how it works.
Oh, I'm sorry. Show me how you want it. Oh, okay. You want it across.
Pre-K teachers should make a promise to the kids to not always be so bossy to them, because they are actually just like literally about like 4 years ago, they just got born out their mom's stomach.
Feed the baby some milk. Or give her a would you like some coffee? Here's some coffee.
Thank you. I have been given so many different beverages. I now have chocolate milk and coffee.
In pre-K, they used to talk to us a lot, and that helped me use more good vocabulary, so when I got to 3rd grade, I could be a really good student.
Let's say you're in 12th grade and you're doing your graduation test, and next they use a big word like rambunctious, and you don't know what that means. And next, you know, you won't be passing that test to graduate high school.
Yes, the bugs are actually really good for the plants. They provide nutrients in the soil.
I think that we should promise pre-Kers that we will help them learn the best we can and teach them how to think with their own minds and not someone else's.
I was making some letters.
Oh, you were making letters. You were creating letters.
I was there too, but I didn't make no letters. I made pizza. A happy pizza.
So were you helping her?
We need to make a promise to all pre-K kids that they should get the same education that I did, or we're gonna be in big trouble.
If I learned that not every kid in pre-K got what I got when I was in pre-K, I would want to tell the president, the mayor, the governor, somebody to do something about it, and I would make sure they do something about it.
My pre-K teachers taught me how to be confident and stand up for myself, and now I feel like I can talk to the whole world.
You guys can take a bow. So these 3 youngsters on the back row were here with me 4 years ago. It's hard to believe you guys have grown a lot in 4 years. And I think I know why you use the word rambunctious a lot. But the truth of the matter is cute little babies, cute little kids, they grow up, and they are going to grow up, regardless of what we do for them. But we want them to grow up the best way possible. And Drew Charter School is one shining example of what happens when you make that initial early investment and give kids the voice that they need. So we're going to ask you guys a couple of questions. So Sarah, what would you like to be when you grow up?
An artist?
What kind of artist?
A painting artist.
A painting. Okay, so we know we can invest early with Sarah. And Emmett, you know, the governor's actually going to be here today. So you can tell him something. What would you tell the governor about pre-K and why it's so good?
I would tell him that it helps me. It's one of the reasons that I love building.
Oh, what do you like to build?
Well, I like to build like weird cars that have like some sort of blaster on it. I'm actually making a PowerPoint about it.
You're making a well, maybe you could help with the PowerPoint here today.
Wait, what? Nobody told me about it.
And Bryson, what would you like to be when you grow up?
I actually have 3. I want to be an NBA basketball player, a race car driver, and what was the last one? Or something else that's really good.
And how do you feel about school?
I think it's very educating.
That's good. So you're learning a lot. Yeah. And who are these guys? What's your name, honey?
Zoe.
Zoe. And what's your name?
Austin.
Hi, Austin. Did you know that someday you're going to be this big?
Yes.
Yeah. And then someday you're going to be my size, right? And so school's really important, isn't it?
Yes.
Yes. Well, I am so glad that you guys were with us today, because sometimes I think it helps the grown-ups to see who we're really talking about. They're real kids with real futures ahead of them, like you guys, and you're going to do amazing things. I just know it, right? We're going to read about you in the newspapers because you're going to be a famous artist, you're going to be a famous builder, and you're going to be a famous either race car driver or basketball player.
Something awesome.
Something awesome, Sarah says. Well, I think you all are something awesome. Thank you for being with us today. Can you guys wave to everybody goodbye? Okay. All right, we're going to step down, and you guys are going to walk off right there. Do we have somebody to... There's nothing like that to put a smile on your face. That's why I love working with this age group. If you ask my children, they would tell you that if Mom could roll them back to when they were 3 or 4, she would be very happy. I just think that's just such an amazing age. So as we gear up for the future, we must remember that investing in our youngest learners is investing in the future. And as far off as that seems, Emmett and Sarah and Bryson will grow up and will affect how our world runs someday. But our future is bright when we have children like these. Part of our success at GEEARS has been because I've had an incredible woman by my side, and that is our executive director, Mindy Benderman. And I want her to come up here and share some of the wonderful highlights that we've had in the past 4 years.
Thank you, Stephanie. I am so pleased to share with you a few of the things we've learned in our journey over the last 4 years, and also some of the places we think we are going. We're proud of our accomplishments, and you have some of them in the notebooks that you all received when you arrived, and I hope that you'll use those. I hope that you'll use those facts as you go forth out of the summit today. We're most proud that a growing number of our state and our country's leaders recognize the importance of early learning. A broad swath of leaders, including business people, law enforcement officials, military leaders, governors, mayors, and other elected officials and economists around the country and in Georgia, are advocating for increased investments in early learning to ensure that our children get a strong start in school and in life. Many of you are here today, and we thank you. In Georgia, we are so pleased that we have brought national partners to our state discussion. 4 years ago, we were pleased to have national guests, but I wouldn't say they were partners. Today, many of those have moved into people who are friends and who are deeply engaged in the work of our state. For example, we have a partnership with the Harvard Center on the Developing Child to look at innovative ways to deal with children's social and emotional health. We have funds from the Alliance for Early Success, which is a consortium of national funders dedicated to this work. And they were very excited with what they saw in Georgia and have been investing in us. In the state, we're implementing the Early Learning Challenge. We were selected by the federal government in the last round of that challenge and received the most money in that last round, and are pleased to partner with the state on that work. We're also partnering on the implementation of a quality rating and improvement system, Quality Rated, that we spoke about 4 years ago when it was just a dream. Today it is a reality. It is a voluntary system, and we have centers across the state and programs across the state participating in that program. Congress also understands that high-quality early learning investments pay off. Last year's congressional appropriations process was in many respects a breakthrough for early learning. Despite a tight national budget, there were notable accomplishments, including an increase of $1.4 billion in federal early learning funds. At home, in our GEEARS office, we've built a strong and vibrant board, and many of our board members are here today. In addition to Stephanie, you'll hear from a couple of them later in the program. In addition, we have a staff that is second to none, including Laura Wagner, our Director of Research, Whitney Llewellyn, our Director of Policy and Communications, and Ellen Cochran, the Director of our Frontiers of Innovation Partnership. As we look to the future, though, it is essential for us to understand attitudes in Georgia and areas in which we have support. The musician Bono has said, when the story of these times gets written, we want to say that we did all we could and it was more than anyone could have imagined. And today we are here to imagine the future together.